Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about motions. So anytime we're wanting the court to do something for us, we have to follow it in what's called a motion. It's just simply speaking, it's a formal request. Hey, court, we want you to do this. So what we have is we have a standard set of motions that we follow in every felony case that you'll see followed in yours. Most of them are around making sure all the evidence is disclosed to us, getting information about the state's witnesses, about jurors, and those sorts of things. You might have a particular situation in your case that might require a particular motion. And as we're doing our investigation stage and we're working that up, we're going to be looking at what motions do we need to file for you, and then strategizing on when's the best time to file. Because when you file the motion is almost as important as actually filing it. And there's different ways to game the system. Sometimes we want things to move very fast. Other times we want them to move very slow. And so we have to be strategic in how we're filing them and what exactly that we're asking for. But a big motion that's going to come up in a lot of cases is what's called a motion to suppress. And so what that means, in every case, there's going to be bad evidence against you. And there'll be a witness saying they saw you do something, or there'll be a photograph, documents, whatever. And what a motion to suppress says is, look, this piece of evidence was obtained illegally, or otherwise there's something wrong with it. So judge, I want you to exclude that evidence. And that's going to be a focus of any felony, because if I can suppress the necessary evidence against you, we're going to win the case. And the example I use most often is, let's say you're arrested for possession of meth, and it gets tested, it is meth. There's no denying it. So you're in possession of it, that's what it is, and that's going to be a felony. So then what we're going to look at is, well, how did they find it? Was it an illegal stop? Was it an illegal search? And if it was, then I can suppress that meth and they can't use it as evidence. So now that whole case is going to go away and it's going to get dismissed. So motions to suppress don't always work. And there's always a little bit of strategy to it. Like some prosecutors, they'll make a good offer early, but if you file a motion to suppress and make them do a hearing, then they're going to withdraw that offer. So that's something that we have to think about. If it's a case where we've already got an offer that's going to be good for us, something that we want, then we might not file it. But otherwise, we're gonna look at filing a motion to suppress, unless there's just absolutely no basis that it's going to win. And there's other types of situations that might come up in your particular case. We might need somebody declared an accomplice, or we might need the court to take judicial evidence or judicial notice of a piece of evidence. There's any number of those things, but we try to file those motions along the way at the right time. And I use a strategy that other lawyers use. Sometimes I file a motion, not so much for it to win, but to get it in the judge's mind, get it in the prosecutor's mind. Because even though I might technically lose the motion now, that same argument might win later. And one that I've done in the past, just to give you an example of it, whenever the trial actually happens, the state puts on their case. And then when they're done, we stand up and we move for what's called a directed verdict. So we stand up and say, hey, they put on all their evidence, it doesn't meet the elements, they can't prove their case. And if it's really looking like a case is going to go to trial and we're going to have a really good directed verdict, sometimes I'll file a motion to dismiss just so it can get up in front of the judge and he can hear it that first time. So when I do it for real at the directed verdict, he's not hearing it for the first time and he's already following. But there's a lot of strategy to it, a lot of considerations that go into it. As we go onto your case, we're going to file our standard felony defense motions. We're going to be looking for that motion to suppress. And then anything formally that we need the court to do, we will have to get it into a formal motion, but the court won't decide it until they set it at one of the pretrial hearing dates. So just because we file it, we're not going to get an answer really quick, but motions are a really important part of your defense. Thanks.